Hello, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team. And what I want to talk about today is tournaments and the way that they're organized, comm systems, sportsmanship scores, blah blah blah. And the reason why this comes up is because in my area there was a major tournament just ran, and there was a ton of debate about it should be this way, it should be that way, the way he did this was awful, blah blah blah. And so I thought I'd just get it out there. What does Malorian think? What's my perfect tournament? And I guess the first thing I have to say is that there is no good way or wrong way to run a tournament. As long as the people going to it are having fun, or maybe not even getting fun, if they're getting out of it what they want to get out of it, that's fantastic. You know, there can be tournaments run for fun, for competition, for campaign, for all these different things. And really, I mean, as long as it's a success, it's a great tournament. You know, it doesn't matter what the comp score, sportsmanship scores are, what have you. Now, when you look at a lot of these things, a lot of the way that they're organized is that they're going to have, first of all, a way that you win. You know, depending on how many points you get, and this is for fantasy and 40K, you can have a draw, minor, major, massacre, blah, blah, blah. You'll see comp scores, you'll see sportsmanship scores, painting scores, the whole whack of it. And now, there's two reasons why tournament organizers in the first place do this. The first reason why they need so many different levels and breakdowns is because it gives you a good spread of scores for players. If there was just, say, like win or loss, painting is good or bad, you know, very, you know, binary type system, well then all of a sudden your spread for your players is really close. You know, unless you're running kind of like a pyramid type of elimination, it's really hard to get one person to be the winner. And you know, people like to know, out of 50 people, where did I fall? Was I number 3? Was I 17? And the more ways that you have of breaking that out and spreading it out, the easier it is to say that, oh, you were this place, instead of, well, 50 of you were all tied for this one position. So that's the first reason. The second reason for having all these things is they wanted to direct the tournament in the way they want to have it. So, you know, obviously if they want to be running a fun tournament, they'll be doing things like having restrictions where you can't use a top list, or maybe there's a harsh comp penalty, so if you don't follow their comp, you're going to be taking a big penalty, you won't get the trophies, blah, blah, blah. And that's the reason why they do it. Now, I don't want to be going into this and saying, take this tournament, this is what I don't like about it, and go from there. I'd rather say, where am I trying to get to, and then working my way backwards. Now, when I'm trying to develop a tournament, what I want to get out of it is I want everybody to have fun, I want everybody to have a great game, and also a competitive game. So trying to get all those things together. And I know one of the things that I hate seeing, or that I really, well, I guess I said I don't want to do that. The things that I really want to make sure happens in these games is I want to see them going right to the end. Because for me, my favorite games I had were the ones that went right to turn 6, you know, last dice roll, everything mattered to the very end. The part that I hate seeing is when it gets to, you know, oh man, it's a massacre, I might as well give up, because no matter what I do, you're going to get that score. Or, you know, oh, we've got to this point, why even play on, because you don't have enough for a massacre, it's going to be a major either way, there's no reason to even continue. You know, and that just kind of sucks the energy out of the tournament instead of just all the time, oh boy, right to the very end. And in my system, the way that I would go and do this and bring this about is that I would make it based off just off victory points. So if in your game you scored 1,723 victory points, that's your score for that game. And that does two major things. The first thing it does is really makes it so you have a whole bunch of differentiation between all the players, because it's not just major, minor, draw, blah, 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 massacre. You can obviously then have so many different point levels to have people all spread apart. The next thing is that it almost makes it so it's not player versus player, it's player versus mission. Because at the end of the game, I mean, you could say the person with the most victory points wins, but then again, you're still taking these and moving on. When you're looking at the tournament in the long run, you're saying, I got this many victory points for this game, this and this game, and when I sum those all up, that's what I got for my points, as opposed to, well, I lost this because it's a minor, and all this, so I suck. You know, so, and with that, like I said, that's going to make you go all the way to the end, because even if you're getting your butt kicked in a game, you're still pushing and pushing, because even if you've lost the majority of your army, as long as you go and destroy, say, like some fast cav, or getting to, you know, some little attack squad for 40k, you're going to get those points, and so it actually matters, and so you're pushing on. Now, the other thing that I like seeing about that is that when you look at all the things that people are trying to comp out of tournaments, they're usually very defensive. You know, For 40K, we're talking about tank lists. For fantasy, we're seeing Death Stars and things that are just massive point denial, where you just can't get the points for them. And that's really what they're doing in the tournament. You can't get points from me, I'll get some points from you, and as long as I win by 200 points, massacre! Because, 200 points to 0 is more than double your victory points. Ha 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 ha. Well, this doesn't allow for that because, oh, did you get 200 victory points? Well, that's fantastic. This guy over here, who had even lost, but at least he did something, got 1,300 points. And so in the end, they're going to win. It really pushes for an offensive play style rather than a defensive play style. And that, to me, those what make the best games. Now, of course, the other thing you have to worry about is that, well, even with that, you can see a lot of these strong lists, and people are just going to take like the most offensive things, just a real big block. You still would want to be a little bit defensive so that you don't give up anything and just go in there and smash. And that's where, of course, objectives need to come into a game. And for me, a lot of times what they do is each game will have their own mission. Everybody has the same mission. But when you go into it, people don't know what to expect, and so they usually just aim for, well, I'm just going to try and kick my opponent's butt. What I like seeing and what I do is that I'll have a wide spread, and in fact, it's different for every single person. I'll have it so that there is 11 different types of objectives. So when you get to your game, you roll 2d6, you'll have anywhere from 12 to 2, and that's going to relate to a mission. And so you can be putting that out, and everybody's going to know that, man, there's a whole bunch of different objectives. And with these, these have to be sprayed from everything to, I got to kill that, I got to make sure they don't go to this objective marker over here, I have to blow up this objective marker over here, all these different things, forcing you to take a very varied list. Because the big thing is that some games shouldn't be won just by killing your opponent. Sometimes you have to be doing something else, like capturing a bridge, destroying this over here, or even just like area control. And again, even though in some missions they try and push these, I find that they don't push it enough. It's something like, well, okay, you get an extra 100 victory points for every quarter that you hold, and in the end, if you massacre a guy, it doesn't really matter. And so, in mine, again, you're going to be getting the victory points that you scored for that game, and then if you got 0 of your objectives, then you're going to have just straight victory points. So let me finish this. If you get 1 of your objectives, you times your victory points by 1.5, and if you get both, you times it by 2. So that's huge. It's very important for you to get all these different objectives that you're going to be given, and because of that, you're going to be taking a very diverse list that's able to handle everything. You're going to need fast elements, you're going to need killy elements, and that's, to me, is the best thing in a tournament. It's a really offensive list that have a whole bunch of different components to them, and when you get 2 types of lists like that up against each other, you're bound to have a fantastic game. So really, when you get that all in place, do you really need anything else? Because I don't think so. Because once you have that in place, why do you need comp scores? Because this is already making it so that all those really tough lists that you're trying to stop aren't going to be doing well. If I take a big huge chosen star, well, that's great. You might not be giving up a lot of victory points, but you're not going to be scoring a lot either. They can just keep on speed bumping you. You're not be getting a lot of these objectives depending on what they are. And in the end, it just blocks that out. The person that takes a whole bunch of orcs and says, go get them killed, go capture all these objectives, they're going to do better. So to me, comp scores, you don't need them whatsoever. Next one, the sportsmanship. Now, sportsmanship can be very important, but the reason why a lot of people put these sportsmanship scores into a tournament is, again, just to diversify. But what people have found in a lot of different tournaments is that when they're also trying to use those to find out who's the best sportsman for a trophy, that you still see a lot of ties in that, because people usually score pretty much in the upper echelon of those scores. And then in the end, it comes down to the people voting. You usually get 1 vote for the best sportsman out of the people you played, and that's what really breaks it down. And so to me, again, no scores for that. Just in your last game, vote for whoever was best sportsman. Whoever gets the best, most of those scores win. And if you have a tie, then you can back up to who got the most victory points. Because obviously, if you scored really high and did well as well, that means that you're kicking butt, and you're kicking butt in a way that you're also not being a jerk because they also voted for you. So to me, that's a little bit better of a sportsman. But again, I mean, you can break that up whatever way you want as well. Again, painting scores, you know, again, you don't need that in there to diversify. I would just make it so it's a thing where people vote, because when you have people again that are just kind of giving scores for it, if you have like a 1 to 5 type of level, you're always going to see them voting for the very top. It's better just to say, these are all the ones, pick your best list, and the one that gets the most gets the trophy. So there you have it. In Malorian's perfect world, it would be based off just off victory points. So it's offensive, 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 all the way going to the last turn. It would be based off where every time you have 2 main objectives you're trying to go for. If you get 0 of them, you just get straight victory points. 1 of them times it by 1.5, and 2 of them times it by 2. And I believe, and I've run a couple of trial tournaments like these, that once you have that, you don't need any other scores. Everything else falls into place. So there you have it. Hope you find it interesting. And if you have any comments, please post them down there. I'd love to know what you think. Okay, thanks. Bye.